go.
Very good.
All right, hey everybody, it's really good to see you here. Thank you so much for participating with us. I'm going to be moving kind of back and forth because the way I have my setup, my presentation is going to be over here, my camera's sitting over here. So we have a 4-hour or so presentation for you. We will be taking bathroom breaks. We will be answering questions. Now, from a high level view, here's what we're looking for. Is eventually we're going to cut all this video up. We're going to turn it into a course. We're going to give you a synopsis. We'll give you some PDFs, some workbooks. Some of those things we're actually going to be creating while we're live on this call, just to show you how easy AI has gotten. As long as, again, there's so many shiny objects out there, as long as we can all work together, tie this in together, and by working with each other is to, well, essentially we want to show you a bunch of tools and then the processes that we use to use those tools so we can start seeing some results. So if you are watching on the Zoom, like Nick said, go ahead and jump. Nick, you said anything in Q&A, is that correct? Because it helps us
questions,
all that, is that right?
Questions that need to be answered during Q&A time, yes, please drop them in the Q&A and reference where we're at or what tool you're talking about. And Kurt, let me know before you want me to go live on Facebook, so you can push this.
That's why you're my business partner. Okay. I was literally just going to say that next. Do you want to go ahead and go live? And then I'll kick this thing off. So good to see you all. Thank you all for being here and trusting us with your highly valuable time, your hard-earned monies. There's lots of things that we want to show you that we're very, very, very excited about. I only got about 3 hours of sleep last night. My girlfriend even said, "You don't even look tired. You just look excited." And I'm like, you have no idea how much information I want to be able to share with people, because it's like there's so many shiny tools out there. Once you start to find things that start to work for you, and especially some of the click-through rates that we've been seeing with some of these AI created images or just content, it's great. And then the other thing is, I want to talk about the opportunity here in a minute too. Not meaning that, hey, AI is revolutionary, but when we produce content in the right ways, well, where can we start to plant some of those seeds so we can see some of that fruit come to fruition? Am I saying that right? Still requires some more coffee. The whole thing is right now, content is really king. I mean, people have been saying that for years, and for a while, just regular organic content, unless you were really good, was really hard to come by. Right now, organic content is making a resurgence. So there's lots of opportunity with these AI tools for copy, for video, for sound, to produce a whole bunch of content organically to get a really great reach, to validate, test offers, and then once you kind of figure out what's working really well for you, of course, then start running paid traffic. So again, just to kind of top this all off, we are super excited to have you here. Thank you for being here. Again, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the QA. If you want to engage, go ahead and put it in the chat. If you are watching on Facebook and you're watching this live, there's a couple of things I want you to keep in mind. Number one, this is live. You will get, of course, all the edits, replays, PDFs, everything else. So never know what happens on live TV. Number two, live TV, live webinar. Number two, if you do leave any comments in the group, go ahead. Nick's going to refresh the screen every like once or twice an hour just to see if there's any other additional questions in there. Sometimes there's a lag, but here's what I'm really looking for. We would like to be able to, hear feedback from you. So if you have an aha moment, like, oh my God, that's amazing. Tom Breeze says this, buy that man a beer ticket, right? And I love when he says that. When you have an aha moment, or when you feel you want to buy us, like Nick and I, a taco, for example, you don't have to buy us a taco. Just leave a post in the group, put an image up in the group. Oh my goodness, my mind was blown when Nick showed me how to do. Oh my goodness, I had no idea that ChatGPT could do. Any of those big aha moments, we would love for you to post inside of the group. We want to know what's kind of happening real time, what's going on in your head. We want to make this, of course, as interactive as possible. So for everyone who's been inside of the group, if you wouldn't mind, take those 2 polls. You'll see that when you first log into the page. Other than that, we're going to be streaming live in here pretty much for the rest of the day, right? We probably will go over the 4 hours. You're welcome to stay as long as you want. The other thing is, I will be dropping additional tools into this group. So we're going to leave this Facebook group open for the next couple of weeks. That way, if you have any questions about what we covered or implementation, Nick and I always say the following: let us know what happens next. So as you implement this information, post about it in the group. If you have questions, post about it in the group. If you have additional ahas outside of the training, post about it inside of the group. We'll keep the community going. I'll drop some additional tools. And the big thing is inside the group, there is a place called, let's see here, Nick, do I still have the group up? I'm going to do a quick screen share here. Nick, do you happen to have the group up on your side? If you don't, that's okay. I can pull it up here.
Yeah, I got it right here.
Would you mind sharing your screen just real quick and talking about, I want to show people where the guide section is. What the guide section is, if you're not familiar with the Facebook groups, I'm sure many of you are, and if you just want to click right next to the discussion on guides, we're going to create some step-by-step guides for you that essentially is like, if you have any other employees or if you're catching the recording, you can go through this guide and basically see step-by-step what we're covering. So like, for example, I started out with the polls. And Nick, if you scroll on down just a little bit more, the must watch. So you're going to see we ask you to take 2 polls. There's a must watch video. You don't have to watch it before this presentation. So if you're watching the replay, you don't have to go into the guide and check this out. But it really gives kind of the future of what's going on with AI and some, in my opinion, some really, really big aha moments for us to all consider. Other than that, like I said, the group's going to be around for a couple of weeks. Let us know if you have any questions, comments, concerns, divine revelations. Post inside of that group what you're experiencing, what you got. Nick, what I want to do here is make sure that my presentation screen is working out okay. And
Michael had asked about the chat in the Facebook where you post your ahas. The chat's actually here on Zoom, so don't know where to find it on your end, Michael. Check the bottom bar of Zoom, maybe the right panel if you got it. There should be an option for chat to post ahas. Or if you can't find them, drop them in the QA. We'll make it work.
Yes, so. And again, I love those in the group that we can take any screenshots too. Oh my goodness, my mind was blown. What our goal is, just to be very open with you at the end of all this, Nick and I are going to edit up the videos. They're going to be put into a course. You're going to get access to that. We have a lot of PDFs that we're creating, how-to guides. We're even doing that right now live on the call. I'll show you that, but you're going to get access to all of that as well. And essentially, as we're building this out, we're going to give you all the access to it. And then moving forward, what we'll do is we'll have some people be able to check out the replay, but they're going to have to pay for it. But they're not going to get the group. They're not going to get a lot of the tools and access that you're going to get today. But eventually, this is, as you know, is a hot topic. So we want to make this in a really great training. Love your feedback on how we can improve any of those aha moments. And then other than that, Nick, besides talking about aha moments and just being excited and needing some more coffee, I think we're going to just jump into the presentation. That's why we do this from home.
I didn't realize when we set this up, today's the last day of school. So they are excited as well. They just got home. School's out for summer.
And mom and dad are like, uh-oh, here it goes. Okay, great. So unless there's any other questions, comments, concerns, divine revelations, everybody can hear me okay. I'm going to, for this part, turn off my camera, show my screen. I will bounce back on his camera. Nick, since I'm going to be in presentation mode, I'm not going to be able to see any of the chat or anything else. So if you need anything, I'm going to keep my phone out. Look at that, it just disappears. Yeah, just go ahead and text me on my phone if we need anything. Cool. And always happy to come back over on camera. Of course, as you know, Nick, interrupt me at any time if anybody has any other additional questions.
Perfect.
All right, everybody, let's go ahead and jump in here. By the way, I am kind of curious, is inside the, if you wouldn't mind, inside the chat here, just for a second, where are you from in the world? I'd love to know. I always ask this question because I'm a kid from Nebraska, and just getting to know people from all around the world is amazing. So I always love to know, where are you from? Seattle, Chicago-ish. Love Chicago. Chicago's great. What else do we got? Indianapolis, Canada. Oh, welcome, Colorado Springs, Australia. Man, it feels so privileged when we get to do this kind of stuff, Nick. It's great. So I don't want the download button. I want to actually do this like a presenter, like I know what I am talking about. And just a second, Nick, I'm having just a small technical difficulty on my side. It's what some people would call an ID10T error. That would be an idiot error, and that is my fault. So let's see. That's weird because, Nick, I'm trying to start the presentation, and on my side, I think this works now. Let's try this. And this is why we have those things called editing. All right, Nick, can you see everything okay? Can you hear me okay?
Looks great. Yep, perfect.
Great. I need to move around the bar. You can't see this. Now, Nick, with presenter mode that I have up right now, I actually can see, I can see a little bit of the chat, but I can see Skype as well too, just FYI. So if you need anything along the way, just let me know, but you don't have to necessarily text me. I can see the other stuff now. All right, everybody, well, Welcome to the Content AI Workshop. We have a lot of things to show you today. Again, if you have any questions along the way, just please let us know any of those aha moments. I would love to know more and more about. So let's go ahead. If this screen thing works, there we go. Hey, everybody, if you don't know who I am, I'm Kurt. That was pretty easy. So goals for today's workshop: review content opportunities for 2023. I do want to, I did a presentation at the beginning of the year for some of our memberships inside of our Fight Club membership, where we talk about Facebook ads, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, everything else. And we did some trends for what happened in 2020 and predictions for 2023. I've delivered this presentation to a lot of different masterminds, and people are like, oh, I didn't even know that that was an option. We're going to be creating so much content. Yes, I want to show you the tools, but I also want to give you options to review as we're going through. We're going to introduce you to a bunch of AI tools for content creation, production, provide demonstrations into the tools that we're using, exactly how we're using it. We're going to hand you proven prompts to get you started with. Prompts is an interesting word that we're going to be talking about a lot here. If you don't know what a prompt is, it's just a really easy, not even easy, I should say, sentence, question, or statement that you put into AI to see what kind of result that they turn back. Prompts are interesting. Just the copy and paste prompts aren't necessarily beneficial the way that you think about it is. We're definitely going to talk about that. We're also going to be talking about a plan of how we implement, how you can implement all of this consistently, because it does become overwhelming. But once you start using the right tools, it just gets easier and easier and easier. We're also going to give you honorable mention tools for more that you want to explore. Now, what I mean by honorable mention is we've played with it a little bit. Some of our trusted colleagues have played with it a little bit. We haven't dove real deep down into it. It may be something that you want to check out and use. It's emerging technology. So we're going to show you the foundational stuff that we are using for our business that we use on a regular basis. But we're also going to say, oh, hey, by the way, I saw this, I played with it. I haven't used it for a long time. You may want to just find that this is interesting and check it out later. So what can AI help us with right now? It's blowing my mind on a daily basis what AI is able to do. Well, first thing is we're going to do a lot of idea generation. And really, when I first started playing with AI a couple of years ago, I was just using it with idea generation too, especially like when Jasper AI came out. Well, you can obviously do a lot of research, but the problem is ChatGPT is it's kind of outdated, right? Like the model hasn't run on the internet in the last couple of years until like last week. Now it's starting to be connected to the internet, that it can read internet pages for you, web pages for you, and it's making research really interesting. Copyright. Oh, by the way, research. I was over at Evan Pagan's house the other day. We were talking about the technology, and he was telling me he has friends that are using AI because they specialize in shipwrecks and finding what chemicals were on the shipwrecks, meaning like back in the 1700s where they're carrying wine or mead. They're using AI to actually figure out where could ships have a probability of going down at with all the information AI knows. What could possibly be in some of these chemicals? What's on the manifesto typically of the ships? Research what you're able to do into real estate and chemicals. So I'm using this more and more than I'm using search. Obviously, copywriting, that's what we're going to be talking about today. Funnel offer and copy hacking CRO. I think you're going to love some of the tips and tricks that we have with this. It can literally write sales pages, emails for you. It's kind of crazy. We'll give you some examples in a little bit. Lots of really great images that are coming out with AI. Videos are just, I mean, the text to video stuff's getting crazy. Literally in the next couple of years, it might not even be a couple of years, you'll be watching full-blown movies, cinematic movies that no one stars in, that may not even have any real human voices, that's going to feel like a cinematic event. It's crazy what you can do with video these days. We are going to jump into audio as well too. That gets to be a little creepy. You can create voices, clone voices, have voices that come out of nowhere. Obviously, books, that makes it a very interesting process. Presentations, editing, summarization, content distribution. Man, there's so much more, but we're literally going to tackle all of this on our time together today. All right, so what can AI not help us with yet, which is kind of creepy? So the emotional connection with customers. It doesn't really understand empathy. So the way that like the ChatGPT works, for example, and a lot of these other language models, what they're doing is they're basically taking language and see how people use the language. But just to be clear, it's not highly knowledgeable. So for instance, I actually asked ChatGPT, like, hey, what's your IQ? And they're like, well, we don't have knowledge like humans have knowledge, because we have a lot of different connections that we make, and we have some emotional sensors and connections that we make to help us relate to other people, understand the story, feel visceral about the story. And what AI basically does is they have the language models that they understand the modeling of it, but they don't understand the emotion necessarily behind it. So sometimes it gets lost in tonality of how your customers feel, how you connect with your customers. So it's working on that, but AI can't feel yet, so it doesn't know how to interpret feelings yet. It doesn't have a big picture thinking in your business. So a lot of people say, well, our consultant's going to be done away with, or copywriter's going to be done away with. Well, a lot of times what you have to do is you have to have that emotional connection to be a copywriter. And you also have to have the big picture thinking of, what does this client want? What do they want to implement? What are the cost per goods to make sure that this works? What kind of market are we going after? Right now, AI is getting better, but it doesn't have this huge big picture thinking for your business, let alone big picture thinking of your life, right? Like Nick's going to take the entire family to Disney in a couple of weeks. They typically do it every year. If you've ever been to Disney, they take a lot of money out of you. So typically around that time, Nick's like, hey, what can we do for some extra income to do a product or do a blah, blah, blah? Well, AI is not going to have the big picture of all the intricacies that's going on in your life on why you're making decisions, right? It's going to give you very linear answers. Understanding all of your available resources. AI is going to give you just some black and white answers, but it doesn't understand if you have money, if you don't have money, unless you kind of program that in. It's getting better and better on that. But to implement your overall marketing strategy, a lot of people say AI is going to replace a lot of marketers. The lazy ones, yes. But essentially what we're doing here is, hang on, Nick, I have a small issue with my computer on my side. You're not going to see this, but you're just going to hear an interruption of my voice for just a second. I apologize. There we go. I think I fixed my issue over here. Okay, there we go. Let's go back to presentation. So the big thing is the implementation of your overall marketing strategy, right? AI is going to can help send out emails, text messages, paraphrase certain things for you, but like it doesn't understand your entire business strategy yet, but it's getting closer and closer and closer. So we still have an opportunity here. Now, our confession to you, yes, we are PhD certified to do this, Nick and myself. That would be a public high school diploma. When we were both in high school, there were no AI classes. When we were in college, when Nick was in college, there were no AI classes. We're pretty much as qualified as much as you are. I mean, technically, the first time I ever used AI is when I started using social media. So limited experience. We're not coders by any means. There are a lot smarter people that are on here. It's great. But I don't know anything about coding. Like I know Michael's on here and a couple of others that are brilliant in this. I don't even know how to look. It makes me go cross-eyed. So we're typically not into shiny object chasers. And the reason is because Nick and I don't have a whole lot of employees. We do a lot of our things on our own besides the employees that we have in Nebraska. So when we're going to start to adapt something, we want to make sure that it works. Of course, we're going to test some stuff out, but we're not testing out 50 different things to only find one. You know, we're really collecting a whole bunch of feedback from other people, starting to use this, implement it ourselves, and then we start to get in a consistent behavior of it. If the tool no longer serves us, we get rid of it, but we're not trying to do 50 things at once. And we only know what's worked for us. I'm not really quite sure what's going to work necessarily for you. So we're users that we found a way. It may not be for everyone. I'm going to give you some suggestions. My goal is anytime that we do these trainings, I'm going to give you some suggestions. A bunch of you in here, most of you are much smarter, if not all of you are much smarter than me. The ideas that you're going to come up with from the training that I'm going to give you, or some of the ideas that we're using, I'm going to learn so much from you as well too. So again, any of those aha moments, post those inside of the group. I would love to hear what kind of ways working for you as well too. So let's talk about the elephant in the room here in just a minute. So will AI replace us? And I've thought about this a lot. I've had a lot of conversations with people on this. Some people are scared. Some people are not so scared. Some people think it's a huge opportunity. I feel it's a huge opportunity, and I don't really know how to articulate it except when I saw this post on Facebook. To replace programmers with AI, clients need to accurately describe what they want. I don't know how many of you have ever designed a website or have ever been in the website business. Typically, clients are like, hey, I would like something more girly. Until I had a daughter, I don't even know what that means. Hey, I would like to see it more professional. Specifically, what does that mean? Now, if we're in marketing, typically we're a creative type. We like to be a performer, to be on camera. We like to come up with creative ideas, or we like to analyze a lot of the marketing data. Our creative minds are going to be absolutely enhanced with AI. So I'm not worried that they're going to replace us, because there's a lot of people who just want to focus on their business, not get involved in the tech that we are. I think we have a lot of opportunity here. The big thing is, as I mentioned this before, what a lot of people do is they're finding these prompts online that it's like, we got to copy and paste these prompts. We got to copy and paste these prompts. Well, to be honest with you, copy and pasting prompts is kind of like if Nick and I were to record, let's just say Facebook trainings where we never taught you the strategy, but we only showed you what buttons to hit in Facebook. Well, if you've ever advertised on Facebook, which I know a bunch of my friends are here and they have, those buttons change all the time. So if we don't teach the strategy, but we teach the buttons, as soon as the buttons change, everything falls apart. So AI prompts are great to copy and paste. What our goal is basically to do this. Our goal is to take these AI prompts to give you some ideas, take these ideas, pull that lever, and then Nick hasn't approved all my slides yet, but yeah, let's make money, just kind of not rain from the sky, but let's just make money kind of start falling, right? And this is where I think a lot of people on this phone call can really do well at, either with their own content, with clients. Once you kind of unlock these different ways to create a bunch of content, it makes it really interesting and really exciting. By the way, because Nick and I are putting this together over the last, really over the last week, typically Nick likes to look over all my slides and then he makes them very pretty. So if you do see my slides become prettier as we go along, that means Nick's been editing some things. But if you see some ugly slides, just remember, that is my fault. All right, now as we get started, keep in mind, don't focus on the shiny objects, more tools. Focus on the stuff that you're like, oh, hey, this app that Kurt just showed me, I could really use that. Mark that down. We're going to actually go over about 50 different tools today. Some of them are going to be like, hey, we're going to dive in a little bit more. We're going to give you screenshots. Some of them I'm just going to record the website, walk you through. Some of them I'm going to give you some demos. But again, I want to give you options. If you don't like to be a face on video, well, then don't worry about that section where we talk about face on video. If you'd like to create videos without your face on it, well, then pay attention to that section. Again, whatever works best for you. Don't get overwhelmed. We like to say, AKA lost in your own sauce. We're going to go over lots of information today. But again, what I'm looking for is for you to take notes and to kind of figure out, hey, I really like this and I want to explore more. And we're going to give you more tools and documents so you can explore more. You do not have to, by any means, figure out all these tools all at once before you take action, right? Like I mentioned, listen for what you like to do. Explore what is immediately implementable. Nick, did I spell that right? I think so. You will find misspelled words on here too, because sometimes my keyboard misspells things. It's not
I don't
my
know if
fault.
that's a word, but you rocked it. So.
Okay. So the thing is you're going to find some stuff. What I really look for these tools is stuff that's easy to use, that you don't require hardly any tech skills, and the cost doesn't really cost that much. There are a couple of tools on here that are a little on the expensive side, but they do a lot of cool features. You can decide on that. But take a look at this and be like, oh, hey, the logo that I have has a cartoon face on it. Oh my goodness, I could put a voiceover with that cartoon face. So at the end of a bunch of my social media videos, in the last 5 seconds, I can say, hey, if you like this type of content, look down below. What I just mentioned, that solution only takes 5 minutes to implement. So if you like stuff like that, write that down to see what you can implement quickly. And actually, Nick, that may be a great question at the end of the day that we also ask at the end of the training, if you wouldn't mind taking a note. You know, what are the, actually, Nick, if we could ask this towards the end of the training, if you wouldn't mind putting it in the slides, it'd be great. What are the top 5 tools that you believe you're going to implement that we showed you today that are new? You know, what are the top 5 tools that are new that you're going to implement today? And what are 5? And what are 2 results from implementing those tools you're looking for, like more leads, more creative? So what are the top 5 tools you're going to use, and how are you going to use them? There's 2 ways you're going to use them. We'll ask you that later. All right, let's go ahead, Nick, and we will dive right on in. So first of all, let's talk about the opportunity. This is what I'm mentioning. It's not going to be a presentation about like, hey, technology is moving really fast on AI. It's going to be, here's where the content opportunity is really on the major platforms. Now, the first thing that I want to talk about is, many of you already know this. I've showed this slide for years. Lots of people talk about digital marketing like this. People are going to buy stuff right away from me. The reality is, of course, it's all built on relationships, multiple touch points. That's why we want to create multiple pieces of content. Now, just something that I want to mention, though, buyer behaviors changed in 2023. Now, I was doing research for another presentation I was doing a couple of months ago. Came across this guy, Frank. I like to call him Uncle Frank, from the Harvard Business Review. And Uncle Frank basically says this: for the past half a century, media buying has been framed on a hierarchy of effects, moving a prospect from awareness to interest to desire to action. The AIDA formula and its variants are a basis, and often an unconscious basis, for customer acquisition activities in most firms. It's an inside-out process that assumes the buyer moves sequentially through a funnel versus a pipeline. Now, research is actually going to indicate differently. So buyers now work through a parallel activity stream to make a purchase decision. So basically, people are looking at lots of different content before they make a decision. They're going to explore. So buyers like to identify a need or an opportunity and begin to look for ways to address it in that exploring phase. This is the best way, by the way. I am going to go into depth on this. To start reaching people is when they're in that discovery phase. Evaluate. So the second step is buyers take a closer look at at options while defining the need or the opportunity. So the activity is not primarily about determining the specific product or service they're going to buy, but determining the best overall approach, right? So in the evaluation period, buyers are comparing multiple options, identifying the solution type, winnowing down the options for the short list. The interesting thing is, this is good news and bad news. On Google and Facebook, they do this all the time. There's a setting inside of Facebook at the ad level that you can click on that says to show your ad to similar ads. Google does the same thing too. So for example, if let's just say, because I know someone on here is in their survival niche and they sell backpacks. So let's just say that I click on a backpack on Facebook because now Facebook knows that I'm in the evaluation period. Facebook's now, good or bad, they're going to run me other ads of backpacks, not just yours, because it knows that I'm in the evaluation phase. So Facebook has a button now that basically says on the ad level, hey, click on this. And if someone clicks on, say, buying shoes, your ad could be up here. If they click on the website, come back and don't make a purchase, little images start showing up underneath the ad that says you may consider this instead. It's the competitors, which is crazy. So engage. People want to engage with someone, right? The whole Bank of America, Chase of the worlds of like, you can't talk to anybody, there's no personal touch. Buyers initiate further contact with providers to help get moving forward with a purchase decision. And the engagement's going to be really big here when we be talking about the opportunity. And of course, the experience is a formal purchase decision. They want to experience the product, develop a perception of its value. And this is everything that we've been doing inside of our media buying strategy that we like to call the BELT method. It's all about building belief, engagement, lead, and transact. It's building a relationship. And we're seeing it working just gangbusters, especially in the last 18 months, meaning the content side of it, and of course, the way that we run this for paid ads. So everything we're going to talk about today, you're going to be able to use organically or with paid. But by using this approach that I like to say Uncle Frank was just talking about, we've been doing this for years. We've won a bunch of awards on it. We've helped a lot of clients that you've probably seen, heard of, used some of their products, stuff like that. We've been doing it for well over 15 years. Nick and I have been teaching this type of stuff for the last 10 years. So when we find really cool tools, we find stuff that's working for us, we love to be able to share the information, because I kind of revealed the little personal secret earlier, is every time we communicate this type of information, people always come up with big, great ideas that we never even thought of, and we learn so much as well too. So it's a great reciprocal way to do business. So let's go ahead and talk about the 2023 content.